All right. So, Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. Very warm welcome. Let's get started with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening once again to all of you. So let's get started with today's edition with our Soul Soup segment. So as part of this segment, I came across this beautiful quotation which you're going to talk about. Yeah. It says that yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself. Isn't it something that we all experience in some form or manner, right? When we get out of the college, it's like we are going to set the world on fire. And everybody feels that way, that the whole world they are going to set up on fire, especially that much enthusiasm we have on the college. We're going to fix everything in the world. And then we gradually start thinking, okay, let me focus on, the society nearby me. That will be a better strategy. And then after that, you start realizing, let me control and fix my family only. The people around me are little messed up. But when you truly become wise, that's when you realize that only if we had focused on changing our own self, things would have been so nice. So it's an interesting trajectory with regards to how we mature, right? So change from within is the hardest and takes the longest. In fact, one of the I know one of our friends, their kids, they became scholars. They got a scholarship. It's a very coveted scholarship they got in one of the college, which their undergrad is completely paid for. And one of the question that the girl was asked, which the answer to which was so profound that they wrote a letter to the parents, say that in all the history of interviews that they have taken, they have never come across this kind of a response. So when she was asked what is the most difficult thing to do in this world, the response that she gave was that to bring about a change from within. It's just not easy to do that. You can make as many laws as possible, as many regulations, but until that change is realized from within, it will never happen. People will find loopholes and they will continue to do what they want to do. When Morarji Desai came, his logo or slogan was remove corruption, remove corruption. Okay, he'll say that in every speech. And if you look at the trajectory of corruption, it increased the maximum in that time. Okay. Why? I mean, just by saying something, will it happen? It doesn't happen so easily. So that is how typically our life goes as well. When you speak to people who are in college, especially in youth, they are like, we are going to change the world, after we graduate and we want to do this, that. Pretty much you think you can do that. And then you limit it to country, society, and then you realize even that is not achievable. Then you think you're going to change your family and people around. And when you truly become wise, you realize that only changing your own self was the way to go. You've lost a lot of precious time on that. It also reminds me of a story of Akbar and Birbal, where I think Akbar was told by the doctor that you've got a disease in eye because of which you should see only green for the next few days. And if you see anything other than green, it will not be good for your eyesight. So Akbar said, fine. And he comes back and starts paint everything green. Then Birbal comes, he said, what kind of a game plan is that? Instead of painting everything green, why don't you simply wear green glasses? It'll fix everything. So that is the thing. We change our vision, we bring about the change in the way we look at things, or the transformation from within is more important as opposed to trying to change the things around us. And that even a little bit of change inside us can be a leap of multiple lifetimes. A little bit of change. That is how slowly those changes happen. So in this life, let's say through by reading Bhagavad Gita or by contemplating on some knowledge, if we have gained a little bit of delta in our heart, with regards to our Sharanagati, with regards to love for God, with regards to letting go of things, with regard to acceptance, with regards to reducing our anger, with regards to forgiving, it is a huge amount of leap. It's not easy to bring about that change. All right, so with that said, hopefully it has warmed you up for today's session. Today we will do the last one for this discussion on this shloka and get started on this one. So hopefully you can keep this thing right in your head, that it's changing yourself is the way to go, as opposed to thinking about changing everything around you. Okay, that's not how you need to think. So I'm going to recite this shloka and then we'll pick up 2 or 3 hands. शक्नोति हैव य सोढुम् प्राक्शरीर्विमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगं स युक्तः स सुखी नरः. Yes, Shreya.
शर्मा जी, राधे राधे।
राधे राधे। शक्नोति हैव याशोत्तम् प्राक्शरीराविमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधात्पवं वेगं स युक्ता स सुखी नरः. Thank you.
Thank you, Shreya. Yes, Shreya ji.
राधे राधे।
Radhe Radhe.
शक्नोति हैव यः सोढुम् प्राक्शरीरविमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगं स युक्तः स सुखी नरः।
Very
राधे
nice.
राधे।
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Riya ji. So let's get started in this shloka. Uday ji, please go ahead. Last one.
Yeah. उदय जी, राधे राधे।
Radhe Radhe.
शक्नो
We can't hear you, Uday ji. I think there's some problem.
तिहैव यः सोढुम् प्राक्शरीरोदोद्भवं वेगं स युक्तः स सुखी नरः.
I think your audio is having a mind of its own today. So, it's batching it up and then something is happening, but never mind. Let's get started. Thank you. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying those persons are yogis who, before giving up the body, are able to check the forces of desire and anger, and they alone are happy. So we'll continue on that. Yesterday we spoke about tolerate. We will continue to build upon that, because the message that it given here is that we need to check the forces of both desire and anger. And the mantra or the injunction that is given by Lord Krishna is tolerate. Simply tolerate. Okay, so that's where we will continue to have a discussion on. All right, so quick recap. So basically, there are 2 ways. One is towards God, one is towards the world. This is where we need to put a check, right? Self-realized soul, they don't seek pleasures or delight in external pleasures, which is towards the world, as you can see. They delight in internal pleasures, and internal pleasures is something that gets revealed, or it manifests when we take our attention towards God. And we spoke about there are different things through which you can do that. Remembering God's name, forms, qualities, pastimes, abodes, and kathashravan, doing sadhana, meditation, roop dhyan, associating with saintly person, and the material substances or material objects in a regulated manner as much as are needed, uh, as long as it doesn't turn into greed or the bhog aspect of it, right? So we spoke about that. Now moving on. Now, if somebody like Arjun, we said they may have this question that what happens? Material pleasure is the cause of miseries, but my desires are not going away. So what should I do? So Krishna is answering this question. He says, check the forces, simply tolerate. How do you tolerate is what we're going to talk more today. He said, practice, 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 control urges and not giving into them, and eventually you learn to tolerate them. So this is the mantra that he's giving. So let's get started where we had left yesterday. Let's get started with okay, so this is a guy, you help him resolve the the dilemma he's facing today. What is the dilemma? That he sees a banana peel on the road. So what is he thinking? Okay, we'll do some time pass now. Okay. What is he thinking? Shamji is happy. So when somebody sees a banana peel, what does he think? Okay, no matter what you think, he's thinking, gosh, I need to fall again today. Okay, now if he sees two, what do you think he's thinking? Yes, Shamji?
I will fall twice today.
Yeah, he's consigned to his fate. Gosh, he's saying, I have to fall twice today. Let's raise the game. 3. It's easy. Wish I had 3 legs. Makes it easy, right? 4. Okay, I don't have any more real estate left. Okay, they said wish my wife was there for company as well. The point here is he's predisposed to, putting his step on the banana peel and taking it as further as he possibly can, because he thinks he doesn't have a choice, right? So now it may seem funny, but that is essentially what Lord Krishna is saying. Your urges, you are not, it's like a banana peel. You just have to tolerate, okay? Do something about it. Don't think that because you having that urge, you have to satiate it. So let's build that conversation now. Yes, Rahul? Somebody else has some.
Ranji has mentioned that put Krishnamai trash can for it.
Krishnamai what?
Trash can, yeah, so that we can put all these 4 banana
Okay.
peels into that.
Right. So yeah, these banana peels are symbolic of the urges, basically. I mean, it's of course a joke, but let's try to put it in perspective now. So one hand you have temptation, right? We talk about temptation. So what is that? Temptation is the feeling that I want to enjoy this, I want to enjoy that. This is what temptation is. And whenever some desire comes in our mind, we start feeling the temptation that I need to go for it. And everyone in material world has temptations. Okay, if you don't have it, then you are a lucky one. You kind of sthit pragya or bordering on that, and pretty much fulfilling, what Lord Krishna is already asking us to do. So then what happens is transgression. What is the transgression? Transgression means when we act on the temptation and do something wrong that we shouldn't have. That is called transgression. That means we have yielded to the temptation that has come. And it's not that every time we have temptation, there has to be a transgression. And it's not even obligatory. It's not like that banana peel stuff that we spoke about, that every time you see that, you have to fall for that. You have a choice there, right? So in between comes something. There is a wall. So what is this wall? This is called tolerance. Tanstitikshasva, that Lord Krishna is talking about. Check the forces. This is how you check the forces. You need to introduce this wall. And what is this wall? Tolerance. It is called tolerance, which prevents or presents a barrier between temptation and transgression. If you can put that wall in between, that barrier in between, that impediment in between. So what happens with that? It makes us think, oh, I should tolerate it. So no wrong is done. Temptation won't be there forever. It's like itch. You say, okay, it has come, but if you simply tolerate it for a bit, it'll go away. It's not that it's going to kill you that moment. It will be over soon. Calm down, calm down. Don't get too excited about it. Okay, so this is the wall you can actually build. And that is essentially what tolerance is, what Lord Krishna is talking about. But the problem happens the moment that temptation comes, we move to the transgression state fairly quickly without giving it a pause. And that is where Lord Krishna is telling us, introduce this wall. That will really help, where you take a pause, analyze, let it pass away, and not move to the other side. Any questions on this one? I think it's making sense, right? So let's move on now. So this is something that can be practiced, and that is the gap, or see, there is it's called synapsis, right? Synapsis means temptation, transgression. There's absolutely no. But when you can introduce a little bit of gap in between these two, you break that bond or synapsis, then wonderful things can happen. You're actually making a place for divinity to do its magic as well. That is also possible, right? So divinity would come into play where your, intellect and all the tattva gyan and every knowledge that you have acquired, you have to create space for it in between, and then all the good things can happen. And this is the wall which is called tolerance. And um, it is, uh, it is what Lord Krishna is giving us, injunction giving us as well, to not move from temptation to transgression without, not without, then that is how you prevent that from happening. Okay, the tolerance part of it. Yes, Shyamji?
Right. Rajat, do you mean to say that whenever we have some temptation, we should stop, hold on our thoughts, not jump that acha hai, bura hai, that's secondary. First thing first, just wait, hold on to it. Is that so?
Temptation also can be of two types, right? So when it comes to, of course, your sensual gratification, which you are making an urging for you, that's where you can introduce the wall. But you may have a temptation to do some punya also, right? At times we feel that way also.
Mm.
So in that case, you should not resist. Do it immediately. There's a learning in I think in Lakshman Gita, or when Ravan was dying on the battlefield, then Lord Ram told Lakshman to go and listen from Ravan because he was a Pandit, big scholar, Vedic scholar. And the last words of a man are very, very powerful because they put him much pour in their lifelong learnings into those last words. So he said, "Yeah, go and get some words of wisdom from him," similar to how, Lord Krishna had told Yudhishthir to get words of wisdom from Bhishma when he was on the bed of arrows nearing his death. So Lakshman goes and stands to Ravan's head. He said, "Doesn't your brother have manners? He's standing on the head." So he said, "Go to the foot first because you are going to get some word of wisdom." So Ravan gave a very important nugget. He said there were two temptations or two desires or two things he wanted to take on, right? That he wished to take on. What were two things? One, he wanted to build a staircase to heaven. And second was he wanted to abduct Mother Sita. Now, in the first case, he postponed it. He tolerated that urge that, okay, I'll do it. I have time. And the second
Yeah.
case, he actually went with that temptation immediately and did that act. He said that you need to reverse that. Whenever you want to do something good, you get a temptation to do some good work, do it immediately because that desire, that feeling might go away. But when you get a desire to do something bad or it's just about gratification alone, postpone it, that thing may even go away. Maybe you are in anger or you're trying to steal or you're trying to hurt somebody or you're trying to go for something that you know is a bit suspect, then just postpone it. You may lose that desire itself. So that is the key thing. Temptation could be on both sides, right? It's more about the negative ones that Lord Krishna is talking about. Did I answer your question?
Thank you so much. Yes, Radhe Radhe. Thank you so much.
Radhe Radhe. But yeah, good question. You clarified. Now, everybody, whatever temptation they said, okay, it's easy to give up good temptations because now I don't have to do anything good, right? But that's not the case. Yes, Shashiji, you wanted to say something?
Radhe Radhe Nitinji,
Radhe Radhe.
can you please explain this scenario? Maharaji said, you felt pity on somebody and he was very hungry. You fed him. And after eating the food, he got strength and he went out and hurt somebody or killed somebody because you felt compassion. He was hungry and you fed him. But he got the strength and he killed somebody. Then you be the part of that. So how you can explain that, please?
Yeah, so that comes in form of charity, right? Bhagavad Gita explains.
Charity or helping poor when they are
Course.
hungry
Right.
or giving them some money or something like that
Yeah,
due to pity.
so that is one part of it is yes, material compassion, but in this particular aspect, what the technicality of that is that when you are giving charity, the patra matters, right? If the patra is not proper, you get per percentage or the result of that as well. So let's say, like you said, you somebody is hungry and you give them food and they get the strength to kill somebody, part of that will come to you as well because you enabled that act. So the patra matters, which is very tricky. Now you might be giving money to somebody thinking, oh, he's such a poor guy out of compassion and all, and then that guy might be taking drugs or smoking, then you are getting the sin of that as well. But does that mean we stop, helping people because you only think that you have control over is your intention behind it? What they do with it, you don't know. If you ask me, based on the Tattva Gyan, it says Patra matters, you will get. So how can you be sure you cannot be, right? Some trust you have to take somewhere that, okay, this money will be utilized in a manner that will give me Nirgun result, not Satvik, Rajasik or Tamsik, but Patra matters, very much matters. So any form of charity that you are doing, if this money is utilized for a tamasic reason, you will get that result. Rajasic, same. Sattvic, same. And only if it is nirguna, that is, only a saint would know what is the best use of that money. It's like depositing your tax to IRS and they know where to funnel it. So it's a tricky thing, Shashiji, from that standpoint. Where would you put faith, right? Other than if you are very sure a guru and the work that he's doing. Other than that, it's a risk if you go into the technicality of that part. But yes, I have heard that lecture, and this is what it says, that person will have to take part of that sin too.
So then in that case, we have to be little harden our heart, towards somebody's pity, right? So we should not be for pity
Technically,
for
yes.
everybody.
Yeah, that is where scriptures are giving you about the messages. And then say, when it comes to Gyan, Tap, and charity, don't be miser. Continue to do that. Now, yes, so you have to take your call around it and hope for the best in some cases. I get that. You may have to harden your heart, right? Every beggar, if you keep giving them, that is what will that stop you from giving? The food is typically safe, but take your call around that. You asked me a question, I asked you what I've understood about it, right? So
Just wanted to have some clarity.
I know it's very tricky thing. How would you know how the person is going to utilize that money? You can
Okay.
only have
Thank
one.
you, Nitinji.
You say, God, maybe you say, God, I have given it on your lotus feet. What best, this is the best I could have done in that situation, right? So purity of heart and sincerity at heart could be your insurance policy in those kind of cases. As long as you remember that at that time, that's the best we can do. But beyond that, this is what the technicality says. Maybe it's one of those questions, we can ask a saint at some point. Please explain us, how would that work? Because that should not dissuade or stop us from doing charity itself. Okay, let's move on and then we'll take more questions because I wanted to cover and then we'll get into the discussion. Is tolerance good? Let's talk a little bit about that. Tolerance is a quality that makes us strong, while intolerance makes us weak. We'll talk about it a little. Now, it can help us choose our response to a situation. So things don't go wrong, but intolerance makes us a slave to our impulses. We know that, right? To our experience, if it's like if we are impulsive, intolerant, then what's the big deal? Yeah, it's like animals act per the instinct. I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, this is what I'm feeling, and we act like that. But the ability to respond and tolerate stuff is a huge, big quality on the spiritual path. That means you are responding and not simply reacting. Now, tolerance is strength. Is it easy to, vent out anger, or is it which one is easy, to vent out anger or to control anger? Vent out anger is easy. What's the big deal if you became angry? What's the big deal if you vented it out through your words or actions? Or what's a big deal if you felt like having that extra helping and you went for it? But if you did not, then it takes effort, right? So that is strength. And every intolerant act makes us weak from within. Every tolerant act makes us strong from within. That is a key thing. And if we want to invest on our spiritual growth, we need to be tolerant. We have to learn to be tolerant and resist our urges, the natural impulses or the urges that we are feeling for whatever reason. Now, Krishna is saying, tolerate the temptations. Can you do that, Arjun? It's like a challenge thrown to a warrior. Can you do that? And the warrior by nature will say no to a challenge. So they say, yes, I can do that. Game on. Let's take on the challenge. So it's a challenge. The gauntlet is thrown to us by Krishna, to all of us. Arjun is just a proxy for all of us. Can you tolerate? Learn to tolerate. Similarly, we could have same mood when challenged. Can we tolerate? Yes, we can. And temptations indicate that we have become disconnected from God. When temptation comes, it doesn't mean we have to run after sense gratification. Now, putting it in, the temptations are coming, I have to fall down. It's not like that banana peel story I told you. It's not that you have to fall down when the temptation has come. So you see this car and we see some road bumps. So these road bumps that we see, they are for a security reason. Why? So that the car does not speed, indiscriminately without things, and accidents can happen if they are going to violate the speed zone and stuff like that. So they are warning for security reasons. And speed bumps are helping. These jolts are a warning that, the car is going off the track. So what should we do when the jolt comes? We just, put the brake on our vehicle and slow it down so that we have to take a corrective action. So similarly, these urges that we get from time to time are like those speed jump bumps. If we treat them like that, we need to slow down, take a measured response, and do something about it, as opposed to simply playing to those urges that are very natural to us. I hope that makes sense. Let me try to explain you. So rather than seeing that temptation as a cause for capitulation, giving up, we should see the temptation as a cause for retaliation. My mind is taking me off track. I'll fight it with and bring it back on track. So this is similar to the jolt that we are talking about. Okay, you could pick up anything. You can say Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. You can do Radhe Radhe. You can do Jai Shri Ram. Just take your sidetrack your mind or do something which will help you neutralize that particular feeling at that point, and let you sail over it. And with practice, 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 eventually we will get better at that. So treat it like that bump that is there, which is needed. But if it was not there, then we know what can happen. If we will continue to drive the car, which is our life, indiscriminately. Let's move on. So here you see, who is this? A fireman in a fire truck. Now, this guy has been working for 20 years. And when he puts off the fire, has the fire become any less? This time, like, okay, because I've been working on putting out fires, will the fire say that, you know what, now you've been working so long, let me help you by becoming a little less intense? Doesn't happen that way. Fires do not become weaker over time. A fire is a fire, but firefighters do over time. Similarly, if you look at this tiger in a circus cage, so if you think about it, the louder it roars, the weaker it becomes. So why am I telling you that? So the moral of the story is, rather than expecting desires to go on their own, we should repeatedly and consistently say no to desires and not get intimidated by their threats. Fire did not get any less, but the firefighter, he became expert. He continued to become better. And he was able to very adeptly and expertly handle that with time. First time he might have struggled, second time better, better, better. Now he just knows. He goes through the mechanical process of putting out the fire, no matter how big it is. So fire will continue to do its job, but the firefighter has become better. Similarly, the feelings that we get, right, from the urges that we are talking about, um, that is there are the lust and other urges that we get, they are like that big fire. And if you immediately get into action, you can put it off if you have repeatedly practiced it. If you have done the adequate planning, prepared it, preempted it with intelligence, diligence, and speed, you can extinguish every fire, right? And similarly with the tiger story, what is there is we shouldn't get intimidated by threat of the mind and start. If we get intimacy, it's roaring and it will continue to roar. What happens? The person who's supposed to train it does not give any attention to that. It continues to roar and eventually it becomes weak. And then finally it has to obey the master and go per the training in order to get. So you starve it. And when eventually it becomes weaker and weaker and totally silent. And that is how our mind is as well. Right? Every time we indulge in a desire a little bit, it becomes stronger. If we feed this tiger, it will become stronger. But if we don't, if we continue to starve it, then it will become silent after a while. And then it will go away. Now, occasionally it may appear when we say no to desire, but when we are not making it stronger, but becoming more adept at handling it. So practice, this is how we practice. And these are some of the examples which hopefully should help you understand the concept, and see how we need to deal with these temptations and how we can practice it and bring it under control. All right. With that said, I'll take a quick break. Kumarji, you wanted to say something before we move to any other questions related to this, the tools that we spoke about on handling temptation, desires, and stuff like that? And by the way,
Jayashree.
Yes, go ahead, Kumarji. Then we'll.
Okay. Jai Shri Ram, Jai Hanuman, everyone. So I think the question was, what if we give charity to a person who then goes and does a crime, right? So while giving it, we really don't know if the person is going to do a crime or not. But let's say we have an idea. Let's say it's a militant organization asking for some donation. Then they are not really going to do it for peaceful purposes, right? So then we avoid it. But if it's for a very good cause, and we know generally, we will know it, right? I don't want to name any names here, but we will kind of know these people are doing it for a good cause. Then you go and donate. Now, person is hungry or thirsty, we have to provide them water or food. There's no doubt about it. And at the time, we don't know whether the person is bad. Even if the person is bad, you have to provide those two things and probably do some kind of precautions, like probably call the cops or something like that. But food and water, I don't know, this is just coming out of my thoughts, that no one should go without that. And then, of course, based on your experience, then you know what is a good cause, then you provide for that. If it is a militant organization, no way, right? Even if it's your own religion, you should not do that. Those are my two thoughts. Jai Shri Ram.
Yeah, Jai Shri Ram. I know it's a pretty nuanced discussion around that, and there's no clear other than what scripture is saying the patra matters. Okay, now the patra matters, how much you would know about the patra and where all you can find it out, right? So the simple thing is, yes, out of now at the same time, if somebody is drowning, are you not going to save them, right? And then after, let's say you save them, he walks out and kills somebody, then what? Would you not have saved them? So yeah, it's pretty, it's not an easy question to answer, but I just spoke about technically. I think the easiest thing would be you relinquish the sense of doership around that act and bring God into the mix in some way. That, okay, God, maybe I'm, you are, maybe this is an opportunity you are providing me to get something done, and I offer it to your feet. And because I don't know any better, that much prayer we can do to safeguard ourselves. But beyond that, it's very difficult. But at the same time, yes, if somebody hungry, water, you have to help them, right? In some form or manner. You can't walk or turn your face away and say, hey, I don't know what you're going to do after eating food. Because if you beat up your wife, then I'll get the sin, right? And that should not stop us from feeding somebody who might be suffering or starving, right? So yeah, it's not a straightforward conversation. I get that. So we have to take our individual calls, but the safest strategy is to bring God into the mix in your head when you're doing that act, so that you're not having one sense of doership. Second, it's not purely born out of material compassion, because that is a bodily dharma. If you're thinking spiritually at that point, offering it to God and say, okay, who am I to help somebody? Maybe that's your, will, and that's the best I know, and this is why I'm doing. Maybe a silent prayer, like we do before eating food. I think that's the best insurance policy we have around this matter. But patra matters. Okay, that's what the scriptures say. Yes, Rahul.
Yeah, Radhe, Radhe, I agree. Path matters, but probably in somewhere in that equation, our purity of intention might also fit in. So,
True, we have to dabble with all these concepts and hope that everything is falling in place, right? But yeah, purity of intention is something we always control, and that always has to be good, regardless of what action we are doing, right? So that is it.
and
Knowledge helps. And then pity is not a good emotion. Okay, we think pity is a noble emotion. It is born out of material compassion. So, right, the spiritual compassion things, right? You are just being an introvert. Pity is also not a good emotion. I mean, it comes very naturally to us, people who are compassionate and soft-hearted. But if you think about it, that is also an emotion which is it's like truly not in a spiritual sense. It's more like at a bodily level at that point, right? So the true pity, they say, is that the saints, right, they are moved by pity for the soul, because they know they are suffering, and their suffering, they don't look at the material suffering. It's the suffering across lifetimes that we are having, because we are not able to make that change from within that we are talking about, that inner transformation that needs to happen. So yes, from that sense, so it's a pretty nuanced discussion. I get that. Yeah.
And Ajit ji has mentioned in the chat that empty wall doesn't look nice. So if we want one word that can be written on the same to remember life lessons, is the answer can be no is nice. Sometimes no might be important.
Okay, maybe you want to explain that and get that completely. By the way, I want to remind you that we have family camp coming up. So there's some preparation meetings and stuff that will start kicking off from tomorrow. So we'll take a bit of a break. and we'll resume from July 14th or 15th. So stay tuned on that after the family camp is over, because it's going to get over on a Thursday, and then we will resume that weekend itself. So it's going to be a bit of a break, but that's how it's going to be, because it's going to run late, so it's going to coincide with the classes, but we will resume after a little bit of a break this time around. So keep that in mind, but we'll anyways publish that as well for you. Yes, Ajit ji, go ahead.
राधे राधे, आप ये कह रहे हैं कि today is the last class for the break. Is that so?
अब क्या करेंगे?
आज
उनका क्लास
ठीक
कर
है,
देते हैं, देखते हैं.
ठीक है, नहीं I get it, ठीक है, got it.
Today is the last class, and then we will again start on July 14th.
14, okay, got it. राधे राधे, yeah.
But you can revise your concepts in the meantime. We'll come back and maybe quiz and do something interesting around that. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And Dhruvil, we wanted to share something as well. We have time, and then you can share that, right? Last 10 minutes. Yes, Ajit ji, go ahead.
Ajit ji, राधे राधे.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Oh,
Actually,
July
by
15th.
seeing,
July 15th, not 14th, okay? Because July 14th is Guru Purnima, so one more day. It is 1 month before the Independence Day, August 15th, okay? So you can remember that. Yes, Ajit ji, go ahead, please.
Nitin ji, by seeing your example of 1 banana leaf, 2 banana leaf, and 3, I was surprising and was not convincing that how come it is possible to have the temptation for this sort of thing.
Oh, it
But
is possible.
in
I'm telling
practical,
you. Which one?
in practical life, I have seen in the share market, people are doing the same thing.
Mhm.
So I appreciate the example cited by you, definitely. Radhe Radhe. You can explain now. Radhe.
The example of banana leaves. Okay, I did explain that. No, what was the question, Ajit ji?
No, I got the analogy in the practical world. The people are doing the business in the stock market. They are fall in the temptation definitely again and again. And
Oh, that is greed, right? That's where
there
it
is a
happens.
there is a great stake lies in that. And those who have overcome that, they become the wealthy people, definitely. This is the nutshell summary of that business. But people are falling in the trap.
Greed, it's very difficult to overcome, right? It's to put a full stop to that is like we said, right? Even if you were to get everything out there in this world, greed is something. It is like um, it's never satiated, and it is bigger than even God.
So the first step is the temptation, then the next is the greed.
True.
Ultimately, it leads to greed, but temptation is a start. If you break that link, then you will not reach to that last stage.
True.
Radhe Radhe.
And anger also comes through that, and that is what Lord Krishna is telling. You need to check the forces of both greed and anger. And you can nip it in the bud when you are resisting the temptation itself. That is the mantra he's giving here. Just tolerate it. Let it go away. Tolerate it.
And see, in nature, the water flows from top to bottom. It's an easy path. So we are also following the same thing. Temptation is the easy path. But to overcome it, it's very difficult.
Yeah. The biggest impediment to the higher goal is the easier path to a lower goal.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Radhe
Ajit.
Radhe.
Yes, Tejas. Radhe Radhe. Thank you. Tejas, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I wanted to add my perspective of like someone was telling about the charity thing, right? Like sometimes if you knowingly, if you help the bad person, then that's a bad thing. Like for example, Karna helped Duryodhana, right? Like he know Duryodhana was a bad person, but still he helped him. So that I would say is like a bad karma.
Yep.
But then if you don't know if he's bad, with the good intention, your bhav is good in helping someone, then it's a good thing, and then you leave it to God, basically.
I would like to believe so, and this is where most of the people would fall into, and I hope it is scripturally vetted as well. But yeah, if your intention is there and the other person does something wrong with it, will you be party to that result? I don't know. I mean, what I've heard is yes. So that makes it very difficult, this decision of, helping
So
someone.
in like Karna and Duryodhana's case,
That is a
Duryodhana
slap. In that case, it is a very clear thing. You
Clear,
are
yeah.
Yeah, but in case you're not sure, you had part of that intention only, right? In that case, also, if the person misuses it, right, you might be offering stuff to places, with all good intention, right? Let's say you go to a temple, you put your money there, right, with the hope that it will get utilized for God and something related to that. Now, if it gets utilized for something else, what will be the result for that? Now, if that means is rajasic or it is tamasic, or it is sattvic at best, right? You'll get the same result. So how will we control that? You people get associated with the Red Cross societies and stuff like that. Where do those funds get channelized? We don't know. And if they're getting utilized for bad things, then you will be party to that as well, is what scriptures are telling. That's why it becomes a very, very tricky thing. And it says that the best way of channelizing it is to give it to somebody whom you think is nirgun, because they will know the best use of it, because they will use it for the service of God, and then you can hope you will get the best results out of it. And that is where the guru, if you have one guru who is Shrotriya, Brahmanist and Nirgun, then you support the work that will be Nirgun charity. Other than that, the charities will always be tainted with the colors of Maya, as essentially the messages. But yeah, I get your dilemma, Tejas. How much
Yeah.
can you do that, right? You can only have control over your intention. That's what I'm saying. Yes, that's the best we can do most of the time.
Sometimes in my experience, I always feel like if you don't know if it's going to give you a bad outcome or good outcome, and if you put your bhav completely in a good intention, then you always get a second chance. I mean, this just maybe my experience. Maybe I guess some of you might have experienced the same thing. You burn your hand once, and then okay, you will be careful the next time. It's one. Sometimes also it's a lesson in learning also.
True. Life gives us opportunities to learn. Let's
Yeah.
take two more and then we give it to Dhruvil. He is going to share some tools that are going to change your life forever. Yes, Rahul, and then we'll come to Monica ji.
There is an interesting comment from Samiranji that in this time and age of Kali Yuga and seeing impure intentions and deeds all around, we as evolving human beings should not lose our mind and intellect until we completely get assured and get clarified with all doubts, whether it is any worldly thing or spirituality for that matter.
We have to be on the eyes and ears open. That's very true. Anything can be tainted for sure. Please fill out the feedback tracker, post it if you've not already. Like I remind you, next class will be on July 15th, so we'll have a bit of a break. Probably a little longer than we have had previously, but yeah, I think we need it during the family camp anyways, and it's a stretched out family camp this time around as well. Yes, Monica ji, please go ahead.
And can I read one more comment from Dhruvilji? Like there is a question.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. But even Karna thought helping Duryodhan was his dharma, right? But he also exercised his best judgment. But then I think
Dharma,
that
that
also
itself is very tricky, right? What is the right dharma? So only God knows what is the dharma. He got it wrong as per Krishna. He got it wrong multiple. So it's very difficult to know what is the right dharma. And only because God is the creator of dharma, he only knows. And in Bhagavad Gita, towards the end, he says, Sar dharmam parityajya mam ekam sharanam braj. So he said, forget about all the dharma, just surrender to me. There's no higher dharma than that. So it is very tricky. For us to know dharma in a given situation is very, very tricky. Yes, Priyanka. Sorry, Monica ji. Go ahead,
Radhe,
please.
Radhe. I just wanted to add 2 cents to what Tejasri said, that about just not intentions are not just enough. Tejasri, I think in today's world we'll have to find out. There's a lot of information available online also, right? So we'll have to do our due diligence to find out if the organization is legit or not, because there have been cases where we try and we look online and we see some kids pictures and everything, and then we end up donating, and it has been proved that that money was diverted towards terrorism. So not out of emotion, but out of, you have to make your best judgment and take an educated guess when you do charity. So just wanted to add that. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
We have somebody who has got very violent instincts. Somebody's saying that what should be done. Neha, by the way, is saying, and what should be done to the people who support bad people in the name of so-called goodness? Should they be beaten to death? Neha ji, if you want to come here online and explain why would you give such an extreme remark here, that too in a Sattvic session, would like to know what prompts you from saying that. So please come on audio. We'd love to hear your inputs on that. I think it's pretty amusing what you're saying. But yes, Monica ji, good point, good call out. Good call out. Thank you. It is, yeah, we could exercise our diligence as best as we can, but the point is how far you can go. It is very, very tricky here, right? And then you get into analysis paralysis, and life will pass by, and how that does stop you from doing charity at all, right? So there's a pros and cons of everything for sure. Okay, so Dhruval, you wanted to take over and do that. Please fill out the feedback tracker in the meantime. And let's move on to our practical tool segment. I wanted to give Dhruval a fair chance because we are going to meet after a while. It's going to be a bit of a break. So go ahead, Dhruval.
Keshav ji actually have raised hand.
Radhe, Radhe.
Radhe, Radhe.
I would like to add only one thing. Cheaters are more smarter than any intelligent person in the world. Intelligently, we cannot overcome and make sure that we are doing charity to the right organization. When I came to this country like 30 plus years, I heard about American that blood they asked for, and the CEO's demand was $700,000 salary. Where our charity is going?
CEO is asking that. I don't know.
Yeah, I heard it on TV and I was shocked. What the heck is that?
I'm shocked to the core hearing that 700K he asked for.
A salary was like, I mean, oh my gosh, I decided no charity in America. I mean, best charities go to the temple, serve the food by your hands. In Fremont, we used to, I mean, not we, I mean, yeah, of course, we also, ladies, used to cook food by their hands and serve. And of course, we can go to other blind organizations and the other actions and do the charity by your own hands. Why give it in the hands of CEOs and chiefs? Sorry, you know what I mean. Thanks.
You mean sanitized hands, right? We are going. All right. You said blind organizations, said organizations for blind, right?
Right.
Just having fun. Yeah, that's true. It's very difficult. It's a very tricky thing. But I get that. That dilemma is always there in front of you, no matter what you're doing. But yeah, good points. Thank you, Keshavji. Over to you, Dhruval.
Yeah, I'll start sharing the screen. Can you see the screen? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Radhe,
Yes.
Radhe, and
Screen. Radhe, Radhe, Dhruval.
yeah, Radhe, Radhe, and thank you for another opportunity to present a practical tool based on teachings from Swamiji and Maharaji. This time we're actually leveraging a video from Swamiji, which I thought I've linked it here. I'll put it in the YouTube description of the post on community as well. And in 5.23, we talked about checking the forces of desire and anger. We'll focus on anger in particular this time around. So there are 3 suggestions from Swamiji's book, and he covers them in the video as well that is linked over here. So the first one is to watch out for the triggers of your anger. So this can help you detect the anger before it takes control of you or takes over. Swamiji, I think, lists some examples of, like, your kids not listening to you, or your parents forcing their opinions upon you. These are just 2 examples. There can be infinite number of examples for anger itself. The same thing that makes you angry can make someone else happy, and vice versa. So watching out for the triggers can help you see it coming, essentially, the anger.
Can I add something, Dhruval, here? Watching out for triggers when you said that. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Especially on this topic, we've spoken about it. Like there is, you are in a green zone and then we become in a red zone. Typically, there is an amber zone in between as well. So if we become mindful, oh, something has started becoming irritated. If we catch on to that moment, right, amber or yellow zone, I think that helps actually in this point. So identifying that is a good skill to have as well. That okay, something is going to blow up now. Okay, it's you're just looking. You become a hammer at times, trying to find a nail. And if you can mindfully detect that on ourselves, that really helps. Yeah, please carry on. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you much.
No, great point. I think the second point is pretty similar to what you just mentioned. So the second point Swamiji mentions is to delay a response. So the initial response that comes from the right brain is a retaliatory one, and it's usually irrational and detrimental to your own self. But if you take a moment, then your left brain kicks in and provides the delayed but logical response. And it tells you that, okay, why are you becoming angry? Because it's not beneficial for you. I think in most situations, if not all, anger is not beneficial for you. Um, and this moment of pause can also let you inculcate Sakshi Bhav or witness consciousness, wherein you can actually, as you mentioned, Nitinji, you can actually see it coming, you can see it taking over, and then try to distance yourself from that emotion of anger. The third one that Swamiji mentions, and I thought this was very interesting, which is to watch what you consume. So, what you're reading, seeing, hearing, and most importantly, eating. Swamiji mentions that anger is a sign or a symptom of tamogun. And an example he provides is that simply reducing your chili intake can help reduce anger. And I thought that was pretty interesting.
You know what? There are anger cafes as well. I was checking out. In India, they have opened up anger cafes where you simply go. They will give you a nice gear because when you are venting out and they'll give you gear and stuff, and all you need to do is helmet and all that. You just break stuff. And people are saying today I had a fight with my wife and I came to anger cafe and vented it out and now I'm feeling so relaxed. So it's like you vent it out and they pay money for that as well. So anger cafes, check it out. So yeah, this is one of those emotions. We can do much better than that, rather than paying a visit to an anger cafe, like a video game cafe. So
Yeah, I agree. And there are probably cheaper ways or less destructive ways of doing the same thing.
yeah,
Um, so I think this is like the short term or immediate suggestions. The ultimate solution is something that Swamiji also discusses in the video. Um, so anger can be managed ultimately through sublimation of desires. So we've seen this flowchart or this sequential explanation as explained by Shri Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita many times in this class, that material attachment leads to material desire, and material desire can have exactly one of two outcomes. Either it is unfulfilled and it leads to anger, or it is fulfilled and it leads to desire. This is something we want to reduce and possibly even stop, but uh, you know, this will probably require a separate discussion. There's a video from Maharajji. I thought it was mind-blowing about why you simply cannot stop this. You have to sublimate your desire. So you start with spiritual attachment, which leads to spiritual desire, which can lead to exactly one of two outcomes, spiritual anger and spiritual greed. This is something you want to start doing. As Maharajji and Swamiji both put it in their videos. Um, it's like you will not be able to just stop the first one by itself. It's a very detailed discussion about why. So instead, you might want to try sublimation or taking on spiritual desires, wherein the spiritual anger and spiritual greed are actually good for you in your sadhana, in your progress on the spiritual journey. So if we want sort of one way to summarize this or a takeaway, it is that if we really want to control a material anger and greed, we must let our spiritual desire control us. That is one way to control it, because, like, again, it's a longer discussion, but without that, we will not be able to always or with 100% success rate control our material anger. Radhe Radhe, and thank you. It was very interesting to read about this because I was trying to figure it out for my own self, and this was very helpful.
beautiful. Thank you, Dhruvil. That was a good condensed crash course on anger management. See, the shloka is talking about check the forces of greed and anger, and I focused more on the greed temptation part of it, and you've touched upon the anger. So I think it pretty much completes the discussion for the shloka as well. So how do we check the forces? I think I gave some very practical tools around that as well. And for different people, different things can work, right? Reverse counting, taking a break, drinking water, deep breathing, whatever works for you. But the key is to check that force of both your urges, temptations as well as the anger. These two things we have to be very mindful of. Greed, anger, and desire. Give up Gad to get closer to God. And remember that. But yeah, very nicely presented. And thank you for all your hard work on this, Dhruval. Loved it. Kumarji, you wanted to say, or anybody else who wanted to express anything on what Dhruvil has spoken about, or in general, what we spoke about in the session today? Abaji saying there is Anger Cafe in California as well. Okay, good to know that, Abaji. Okay, maybe people you're having anger issues, California, you can enjoy the weather as well as vent it out if you need to. So, yes, Kumarji, go ahead.
Yeah, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Hanuman. So, anger, right? Basically, all the negative emotions, anger, greed, jealousy, everything, that's natural. Generally, we think it's natural. Obviously, it's natural for a normal human being. But once you come into this path of spirituality, you start learning about this. And of course, Swamiji also explains it very well, that it's going to be poison which we drink expecting other person to die, right? So contemplating on that, then we kind of think, what, why am I getting angry? Because the other person might feel it or might not feel it. If they feel it, again, we are adding to our karma as well. But if they don't feel it, it's even worse. We are adding to our karma, plus our health is taking a beating. But more than that, if you see, there is a beautiful weapon that we have, and that is Ram Nam. You just chant Ram Nam, whenever you get angry or whenever you're afraid, just chant Ram Nam. It will magically disappear. I'm telling you, please do try it till, you got nothing to lose, right? So I have done that and I have found it useful whenever I get angry. Like, no. And when Ram Nam comes into in your mouth, there can be, the body transforms. Suddenly you are released from the anger, released from all the negative characteristics. And I just wish I could do it all 24 hours, but whenever I get that negative, immediately I bring that, I get into a witness conscious stage. I'm witnessing things that is happening. And then this Ram Nam is having such a beautiful effect on me that I can just stop myself, right? So thank you. Jai Shri Ram.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes, I think that's also one of the tools you can employ, just divert your attention, and there's nothing more auspicious and soothing and calming and purifying as God's name, Ram Nam, Radha Nam, Krishna Nam, whichever is your Ishtadev that you resonate with, comes naturally to you. You can do that. But thank you for sharing that, Kumarji. Very nice. Ajitji?
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Ram gives Aram Aram. Okay. All right. Yes, Ajitji, go ahead, please.
Anger is considered as a fire which damages everything, self and others. So fire gets ignited by the three component: ignition, then firewood or sort of material which get fire, and thirdly the oxygen. So if any of the component is detached or prohibited, there won't be any fire. So similarly for anger also, the desire and then self, you cannot change the self. If you can change the self, nothing like that. And thirdly, that there is a proverb that you should not dig well to put out the fire when fire is on. So just like a nature of the water, you cannot keep it hot for continuously long time. You cannot become anger continuously for 24 hours. You try to, you have cited an example of Anger Cafe. I'm happy to know about it. I was not knowing. But at the same time, if you want to become angry deliberately, you cannot remain anger for 24 hours. This is my comment. Radhe Radhe.
Good call out, Ajitji. Very nice. And Dhruvil, you've been asked a question that have you been able to control your anger, Dhruvil, applying these tools? Looking at you, I can't believe you can ever get angry. Okay, it's coming from Monica ji to Dhruvil. That's a compliment for you. It's very difficult to make you angry. Okay, so people want to know.
I think we all get angry, and I also get very angry. I think probably just doesn't seem like that from the outside. It's all inside, right? So
There you go. So yeah, anger is the general commander-in-chief of Maya. Everybody has that. If you have conquered anger, that you've conquered Maya. Okay. Yeah, the thresholds might vary from people to people, but yeah, it's one of those things that we all need to work on. Yes, Rahul?
There are a few comments and questions in the chat.
Yeah,
Maybe
sure.
yes.
Quickly,
There
and then
is one question from there is one question from Likhitji that is it really good to have mental illness like anger, pride in the spiritual side as well?
mental illness like?
Mental illness like anger and pride in the spiritual side.
No, anger, this greed, this anger, these are all called Manas Rog. Anger is called Manas Rog. It's a mental. Of course, it is not, right? On the spiritual side, you can dovetail it. Like Hanumanji had a pride. Asa abhiman kah sahi more. I think he said, Main sevak Raghupati pati more. So that is a good pride to have, that I am the servant of Lord Ram. If you have that pride, it's a good pride. And if you have anger on yourself that, I've been on this path for so long and still I'm not progressing, it's a good anger. You are directing it well. So if you are making it spiritual, you can make it work to your advantage. But material anger and stuff is not good. That is something has to be shunned. We need to stay away from. What else? Anything else, or we are good to wrap up?
And I think there was one comment that those anger cafes are there in Bangalore also. So people can check that out.
Now we can form a focus group on where all we have, anger cafes, and rather than working on anger, let's explore that and vent it out. By the way, I can ask you a trivia question. The cricketer now, because we had a Cricket World Cup, there's one cricketer who actually went to play cricket abroad, a West Indies series on bail. Does anybody know his name? Talking of anger management. Shyamji,
Sidhu.
You win the Kahoot today, hands down, yeah. So he put a bat, okay, some parking issue happened. By the way, I hope somebody's not going to sue me for that. He took the bat out, and I think the other guy probably succumbed to injuries or whatever happened. And then the way the case was framed was that, he got a bail and all, and eventually he said, it was not the bat because of which he died. It was because looking at the bat, he had a heart fail. Okay, so something of that sort. It was not injuries. Anyways, so he went on bail to play because he was an ace cricketer at that point. But anger is not good. Okay, these kind of things can happen because of anger. You can land into big trouble and then you don't get time to regret as well. Yes, last one for the day, Samiran, and then we can wrap up. I think we have run out of time for our chantings today. Go ahead, Samiran.
Samiran ji, can you hear us? Radhe, Radhe. Are you there?
Radhe, Radhe, Samiran. Can you hear us?
I guess.
I think it's a one-way communication happening right now. So some problem with your audio, you may want to join in. Okay. So with that said, thank you everybody. Again, want to remind you, we'll send out a notification as well that we will resume our sessions from July. Which date?
15th.
15th. Shyamji is very excited about 15th, yeah.
15. Excited नहीं, but हाँ थोड़ा दुख हो रहा है कि
I know.
take a break है.
Missed the
No
sessions.
option.
It would be probably one of the longest breaks we've had, right?
Yeah. Yes,
Shri,
yes, it is.
Shri Ramya ji was saying this is like a DWFBG summer vacation. So.
Yeah, summer vacation we're taking for the first time. But yeah, we'll come back with renewed enthusiasm and resume from where we are leaving with the new shloka at that time and a lot of more learnings to share as well. So Radhe Radhe.
We'll
Good
have
night.
new insights from you
my
guys.
side.
People.
Yeah, and those of you who are coming to the
Honestly.
family camp, I look forward to meeting you in person. So thank you, Radhe Radhe, everyone.
Radhe, Radhe. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.
Good night, good day. Bye.
Bye.